Tell me below in the comment, is leasing the problem or is trucking the problem? Coming up on
Shall we?
Welcome to another fantastic episode of Truckin Frontlines. Do me a favor, let us know in the comments below what your thoughts of today's show are by the time the show ends, and certainly take a moment and share this with others. I know some of you it's difficult, but it's simple. Just share the link to the show to the platform that favors you most and let others know there is someone in this lifetime fighting for you because major news media doesn't care. That's why we're here. We are here because mainstream media could care less whether you succeed or fail. In this day and age, it's important as truckers to stick together. Our industry, our brotherhood, our lifeline is in your hands. Certainly, go down below, like this broadcast, share with others that do like we do. We bring home everything in America. Every grocery store shelf, every product you buy, everything you do is ridden on the back of a truck, and we need to stick together. The likes of the Anderson Coopers, the Rachel Maddows, the others in mainstream media that are just too big. They don't care about us. They don't care about you. So people like me, we do. We tell it like it is. We lead by example. We show you the way it is, and today starts a new day. We hear so much in the press about companies losing to financial pressure. Today, I'm going to talk about a story about drivers with mixed opinions on a program that both helps and hurts as many. But first, let's talk about the elephant in the room, okay? Leasing programs. Where did they start? Where did they become so popular? Well, I've got but a small opinion, so sit back while I talk about that for just a moment. Normally I open my shows with trucking history, but today I'd like to open up with a different perspective. I'd like to say that, we continue our conversation with basically a tale of about 100 drivers that have learned a hard lesson. And like some previous videos, we try to learn from our mistakes. We try to learn from things that, well, maybe they might have started right, but they've just eventually, gone in the wrong direction. So let's think about this. Leasing a semi-truck has always been a topic. Drivers, well, they're divided. It's a path many consider when aiming to break into a more lucrative sector, like they're a driver for somebody and they're only making 50 cents a mile or 40 cents, whatever the going rate is, But is it truly the best route? Is it truly the way to get things done? Some of us, we look to get collectively a lot of money, and we look to get our stuff together and put down a down payment, finance a truck. Hell, so a lot of us, we can afford to do that because some of us have 790, or 750 or whatever the basic perfect FICO is. But not everybody has that. Some of us were in the low 400s or high 500s. So let's take a walk back in time and think about how did leasing actually start out? Okay? Finding something you love is really what the important thing is. Some of us can finance it. Some of us can actually buy a truck outright. Others, we have no choice. We have to go with a company that has things set up. A company like, well, as much as we talk bad about them, Swift, or maybe even somebody more than that. Maybe somebody like Peterbilt, which, though not leasing a company per se, they were really responsible for revolutionizing the industry with their innovations, and the influence they provided set the stage for leasing models we see today. Then we have rail transport. They're another which offers a support system called BOSS. Not to be confused with my name, Boss Man. No, has nothing to do with me. But they offer a lease purchase program that not only gives them the support, but the latest in safety and technology for them as well, to not only build their support network, but also gives them a little bit of hope and gives them a way to kind of get that network besides just buying a truck and trying to get out there. And there are other companies out there that provide services, and yeah, they'll take a little bit more. They'll kind of take a little bit more than the ideal lease would be. But you know what? Not every company's perfect. And there are some creators out there, and this is another point I'm going to talk on tonight. There are some creators out there that talk like the lease purchase program is close to failure. Everyone that does a lease purchase is subject to apocalypse or is close to it. And if you're out there watching this live tonight, I welcome you to come on and prove your point. I welcome you to come on and prove your case, because there are some lease purchase programs that are out there, I think, are still viable and are still a way in which we can make trucking great again. I'm going to talk first about a company where that position failed. But then I want to go a step further, and I want to talk about the possibilities that maybe a lot of people haven't thought about. And even those that have experienced failure or maybe a bad spot in leasing a truck, well, you've got an opportunity to turn yourself around. It's not as bad as everybody says. So let's talk first about a company known as APL Cargo, okay? In an article in FreightWaves a short time ago, a story of a trucking company out of Walcott, Indiana, recently filed for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It had 122 drivers and a fleet hauling everything from fresh produce to general freight. Their sudden troubles sparked significant industry interest. So much so, FreightWaves put a story out. Okay. It was basically culminated in a lawsuit that was filed from one driver in the company that claimed that the way in which they were compensated was not fair to them or all those involved. Now, that one lawsuit sparked a fuel for a fire that would eventually culminate in bringing that company down. So now, because that story's been so public, and not just that story, but others equally have come out of other states like Oregon, California, and other states in the union, everybody's joining the bandwagon and saying that because of AB5 and because of all this controversy over 1099 versus W2, leasing's bad. You can't make it in lease. Well, I ask you, put in the comments below, tell me, really, is lease set to die? Or can we actually make it in trucking today? Let's bring on some panelists that commonly come on, and let's talk about this very interesting topic, and let's solve it. Let's figure out, is leasing dead? Is leasing the problem? Or is trucking the problem? First up on the list today, somebody you all have probably seen on my show very often. Trucking with John, or Driving with John, or whatever. John, take it away, my friend. What's your thoughts on leasing?
Well, Truckin with John thinks, no. Two things before I say hi to everybody. I like the look, by the way. Got to mention that. Everybody,
yeah.
make sure you give a thumbs up if you like the look. Yeah, if you
Take
like
a
the look.
snapshot. You might never
The
see
other
it
thing I
again.
want to say is, the other thing I want to say is, I see that WCF Invaders in the house. Dude, email me. I have something I want to talk to you about. Driving with John today at gmail.com. I'm glad to be here. This is going to be an exciting conversation because I might have a take on it that you don't expect.
I like that.
Surprise, surprise.
Unexpected takes are just a way of doing business, man. And please don't hold it against me that I'm working sideways, because I have not adjusted my setup yet, but I'm I keep my points in front of me, my screen next to me, and everything. You know, I'm working counterclockwise here, so don't be offended. But yeah, that's how I work things here. My studio is in development, as it
Well,
were.
yeah, you know, you do news with an attitude that tells the truth. I mean, I would expect you to go counter of anything you do. So.
Nice point. Dude's on point tonight. I like that. Yeah, that's cool right there. Another point that may not be so popular. I mean, this man is known by all to be the grumpiest codger of all. The grumpy old trucker. Hey, how's
Oh
you
no,
feeling?
not him.
Oh,
Yeah,
no. I thought I was watching the Fox News channel. What happened now?
Oh, now.
Come on.
Are you going to bring up Anderson
man,
Cooper like that? Come on.
Ah,
Yeah, come on. Make
I'm
Anderson
doing pretty
Cooper
good
come on my
myself.
show and defend himself. You don't need to do that.
we all know that Grumpy watches CNN. I'm just saying.
There you go.
Nah.
Chris Cuomo rules. Chris Cuomo, yeah.
I'll pass on that one. Thank you very much.
All right, first two on leasing good, leasing bad. What do you two feel? John, what are your thoughts?
Well, you got to specify a leasing program like through like a Swift or a Prime or one of the major carriers. That's not the same as leasing a truck, because when you buy a truck and you're not with one of them, you're still called leasing a truck, but you're actually buying it and it's your truck. So they are two separate designations. They say that you're buying a truck from them, but you're really not. You're just borrowing their truck and making money out of it. But if we're going to talk about leasing programs, I would say run. Don't do it.
Obviously,
100%.
yeah. I mean, obviously, that's a given. But I mean, in terms of
if you're talking about leasing,
in terms of leasing programs that favor the individual leasing the truck, that's kind of what I'm talking about tonight. Everybody's got divided opinions, you know, and you'll see a couple of them that come up later in the show. But I mean, honestly, where else are you going to get the benefit of, you know, well, if you buy your own truck and you run your own authority, we've already figured out you've got to purchase the plates, you've got to set up IFTA, you've got to go through all of the handheld stuff yourself. And these leasing programs actually run the gamut of actually providing that for you at a cost. Yes, there's cost there, you know, but some places, I think, run a program that actually does let you make some money. Now, the question is, where exists the program that lets you live above and beyond or even equal to your means? That's the point of tonight's show. So, what do you think, Frank? What's your take on it?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've done 2 lease programs in my career. Neither one of them worked out. They were both walk-away leases, thank heavens. So I didn't have to owe anything once I walked away, turned the equipment back into them the way I received it. And, you know, I walked away, and I'm never going to turn back to it. Because I'll be honest with you, if you're going to do something like that, don't have a family. Just get out there and stay in that truck until you pay it off, because you ain't never going to get to go home.
Honestly, lease programs don't care what you have behind you. All they want is the money to get involved, and all they need is the freight to keep you moving. So the lease program don't care about your background, and it don't care about what you have to support. They just care about whether the numbers work out for you. So, you know, I agree with half what you're saying, Grumpy, but we got another fella in the house. Hey, a boss man. Thank you, Poet. I'm glad you're with us tonight. Trucking is dead. Should be an interesting conversation. Yes, sir. And there's more than one purpose behind that. No leasing program to save money. Buy a truck. I don't know what that's all about. It's underneath the comment. Maybe because he purchased a super chat. I don't know. It's green, so I can't read that.
Yeah, that's a super chat.
Yeah,
that's a super chat. You need to read that.
Yeah, well, and that was the point of making that. Yeah, say no to leasing programs. Yeah, I didn't know how to show. It's showing up differently for some reason. I don't know. but it's StreamYard's messing with me, so bear with me, folks. But thank you for that.
No, super chat always comes up that way.
Oh, okay. They changed it. It's different than it used to be. And again, I'm reading sideways, so my apologies. Debbie Jeffrey is just an old housewife, one that appreciates the job you do. Thank you. I thank you for noticing and acknowledging that. God bless you. Good day from Sub WCF Invader. So we're just getting to a lot of greeting comments. I appreciate everybody that's in the house and love the fact you guys are here. Midlife, MSNBC fan. Oh, this ought to be interesting. Because in fact, speaking of which, he's the next fellow I'm going to bring up. So it's about to get real. So Midlife, be it you're in the house, God bless you, my friend. Thank you for joining the show. What are your thoughts on leasing in today's industry?
First, we got to teach Boss Man how to read. Grumpy is an MSNBC fan.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
anyway.
in the comments. Forgive me, dude. Come on. Anyway, your opinion on leasing. Let me have it.
Look, okay. I haven't seen a lease yet that is written in the driver's benefit, and nor should they be. Let's face it, it's a business-to-business deal. These people want to be business owners. These drivers decide they want to be business owners. They want to go off on their own. They want to run their own business because they don't want anyone telling them where to go. They don't want anyone telling them when they can go home. They don't want anyone telling them what loads they got to pick up or how they have to run. Well, here's the bigger problem with that. They wind up living in the truck all the time. They can't go home. If they do go home, they wind up in debt. So what freedom did they really gain?
Well, and that's 90% of it. Most people do it for the freedom. But the idea is how many of them go into it knowing what the costs are up front. And I personally think that's the biggest failing in truck leasing programs today. All right. I financed my first truck. Okay. And I did it through a standard purchase agreement. I knew what my monthly payment was. I knew what my taxes were going to be. I knew what my fixed costs were going to be. So I knew going in exactly what the score was. A lot of these lease programs today do not do that. They attract you and entice you with, you can make X dollars every week. And they don't tell you everything involved until you're already neck deep in crap. And that's where I think 90% of the problems
Hold on.
from.
But wait a minute. Hold it. Are they obligated? Are they obligated to tell you that? I mean, come on. Drivers don't tell all their secrets either. They don't tell that they want to go home every 2 weeks. They don't tell that they're going to change their plans 6 months from now. Drivers don't tell all their secrets either.
If you've got an adequate vetting program when you're taking people on, you can figure that kind of stuff out.
If the driver had a good adequate vetting program, he'd figure out about those things about the truck payment too.
Leave it to you to flip it around.
Business to business.
Yeah, I was talking about the company though, but good point.
They're both companies. They're both companies.
So how many of
let me ask you a question.
Well, before you do that, John, how many of you in the comments put down below if you think it's the company's responsibility to vet the driver, or do you think it's the driver's responsibility to vet the company? Let us know in the comments below. Go to your point, John. I appreciate that.
Well, I heard that a company can do as a company pleases, 100%. But anybody that's actually owned a company or worked for higher up in a company will tell you that a company is in it to make profit, but they also want to make sure that they make a profit at a level that they can sustain over long periods of time. The best way to do that is by being very transparent and upfront, not by snaking people. And that's what a lot of those lease programs, they snake people. And that is on the driver for not recognize that ahead of time. I'm not saying, but I owned a company, or if any of us on this panel, I would probably agree, owned a company, I think we'd be a little bit more transparent about it. I mean, you have to be upfront when you're going to offer something like that.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot to be said for lease programs. There's a lot that can be brought in as, example, like like just the suit itself, it was all over, referring back to APL Cargo, it was all over misclassification. And we all know that that was a recent trend building in news over AB5 and basically came from AB5. And that's basically been a big sticking point with lease programs. Everybody's hell bent on this misclassification. Should you be an independent contractor? Should you be an employee? I still have yet one person that has not joined us, but I feel has a probably very interesting take. Boom, the man of the hour
person
in the house.
Boom.
How are you doing, Fate Trucking, my friend? How much experience do you have in leasing? And what do you think of this whole misclassification BS in the news talking about lease programs, good or bad? What's your thoughts, man?
I have zero experience in leasing equipment, trucks or trailers.
But you got to have an opinion, dude. I mean, honestly, I know you.
I have an opinion.
Well,
What?
let me clarify that. You have zero experience in leasing programs, but you have leased a
Yes.
truck.
No, I've never leased a truck. No.
Well, either way, it's valid to the
I purchased
show.
a truck. I purchased a truck from a private party.
Okay.
I didn't lease.
So you're
I didn't
saying-
lease the truck.
Through a lease program.
Well, you got your truck was the
No.
same way I got mine.
No, it was not through a lease program.
Okay. Because I didn't do mine through a lease program either. I did
It's
mine through Low
technically a
Mountain.
lease,
It was
but that's okay.
traditional truck
No,
dealer
no,
where
it's
they-
not. A lease program is like what I did with the Mac, where I set up a monthly / weekly thing with a buy-off payment at the end of the agreement. The first truck I owned, I bought from the carrier that I'm leased onto, but I didn't buy it from the carrier. I bought it from the individual person with like a payment plan. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Similar
It
to
wasn't.
what I
Which
did.
is that's
So
what
it's similar to what
call,
I did. I bought mine.
in trucking. I call that a lease. I did the same thing.
Yeah, I bought mine through Lone Mountain, and they were a dealer, and they put the program for financing aside from the company that I worked with, so they were separate. The company I worked for did not have control over one or the other, and vice versa. So, when I talk about lease programs, I mean, let's say hypothetically, you're with Prime. Prime, you pay them for the lease, you pay them for the financing, everything goes through them. And if they want to kill your business, you're done. You can't do nothing about it. So that's what I'm picking on them. It's not like
So I don't want to piss off people or say the wrong thing. I can't think of another industry that you can get into with, I'm going to put this in quotations. You're an owner operator with absolutely no experience in the industry at all. And you're signing a paper saying you're going to pay somebody $5,000 a month for a brand new truck. To me, I personally think that's foolish. Not because of like the program, but because of my experience in the industry. You don't know enough to honestly like operate a brand new piece of equipment. There's too many things that go wrong when you start out as a truck driver that you are going to be responsible for. And you set yourself up for failure that way, in my mind.
But Fate, they want to be business owners. They don't want to be a company bitch, as they put it. They want to be business owners, not have a dispatcher telling them what to do. They want to go home whenever they want to go home and go home for as long as they want to go home. Of course, that doesn't mean that they'll be able to make the payment. They have this misguided idea that becoming a lease operator is a step above company driver. And all of a sudden things turned around and the company drivers are now doing better than the lease operators in most cases.
Absolutely. I would even make the argument I am not being egotistical here, so don't attack me. Like I'm pretty damn good at what I do. I would make a strong argument. I know there's somebody on this panel that works for a very good company and talks about that on their channel. And it would be hard pressed for me to say I'm doing better than that person. You know what you understand what I'm saying? Like it's all a mind frame. That's what it is. But I understand that they want to be business owners, but the idea of being a business owner in an industry that you actually have no experience in or concept in is ridiculous. Like, don't do that. Do not
They
set
also have no
yourself up for
business
failure.
experience. Yeah, they
What's
have
that,
no
John?
business experience.
I'm agreeing with Pate.
Okay.
100%
I think
agree
it's-
with him.
Go ahead,
it's-
John.
it-
Go ahead, John. You were
Oh,
making
I
a
was
Have a
just
point.
going to say I 100% agree with Pate.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I agree with Pate. If you're getting into a business that you know nothing about and you want to go out and start your own business, that's just absurd. I mean, you wouldn't jump into any other industry in the world without any knowledge and think that you're going to start a business and be successful without learning about it. It's just absurd. The whole thought process. It's absurd.
Well,
and that's
as
what's wrong with lease
it-
programs.
Yeah, and as I began, I started my trucking career, just perspective, case you need to know. Started my career in trucking in 2012. And in 2012, I said to myself, I was young. Now I knew a lot about transportation, but I didn't know it all. And I was willing to admit I was naive enough to know I'd be a sucker in 2 seconds. So I worked with a major carrier, 2 of them, in fact, all the way up until 2017. 5 years I was in the business. And in that 5 years, I amassed enough mental experience upstairs to know I was still naive and I still had stuff to learn. Got to be careful. I got kids. That I don't know it all, and I need to actually watch my step. But still, I knew enough that when I looked into a lease purchase program, I saw the writing on the wall. I steered away from it because it said failure. I was like, no, I can't do this. So I went away from that and looked into an actual purchase program and wound up with Lone Mountain. Now that by itself was scary enough for me because I knew $1,300 a month was quite an obligation. That was back in 2017. And imagine today, that's probably somewhere in the 25s, 26s, maybe low 300 or 3000s. So what you opened up the show with, Fate, was, $4 or $5 grand. I can't imagine that. I'm scared
there's people
just
that-
thinking about the difference between what was and what is. I can't imagine what you were talking about.
Well, there's people that are paying that. The reality is those people are failing, and I'm not saying good for them or anything like that. I am also the guy though that will stand up for the company aspect. Like lease purchases are what they are. They're for people that have crappy credit, no savings, everything you should have if you want to be a business owner. You should have credit, you should have money, you should have savings, and you should have experience. And lease programs are set up for people that have none of that. Some people have that. I'm not going to paint a picture that everybody doesn't have that, but a lot of people put no money down on these things, or a very small amount, couple $1,000. And the reality is it's not the company. I mean, it's not the company's fault in my mind. It's the reason they're there is because people, kind of what Midlife said, they have this idea of what they want to be and they're going to gain it at any expense. Like
freedom at all costs. Yeah, to Tom's point, I agree with you there. Me, when I came into it, I'm thinking. So, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, let me say something real quick. I'm gonna have to go incognito here in a minute, but I can tell you from personal experience what Bate's saying. Sorry, he's over there. What Bate's saying is true. I actually went out and became an owner operator and bought a truck and lived by the skin of my teeth for way too long. Now there were personal situations that didn't help, but if you don't set yourself up to succeed, you're gonna fail. And somebody coming into a lease program, they're not setting themselves up to succeed. They're walking into a lease program with empty pockets, no knowledge, and basically a dream. If you're gonna do something, why would you start with a downside? You always want to start with a positive. You never want to start in the hole, and that's what you do
Well,
with a
let's
lease
think
program.
about.
So
You make a good point, John. But let's think about
Huh?
the point that's right below you, right now in the comments. Trucking is Dead says, "Okay, why are you in trucking?" So, I mean, that's the core question.
He
you
was
need
talking to me.
Well, that may be the case, but I'm going to grab the point anyway. And when it comes to lease purchase programs, you have to ask yourself, why are you in trucking? I mean, I'm hijacking the point. I'm sorry, but he makes a good point. Whether it's because of midlife or not, the whole question about whether or not lease purchase is good for you is based in that comment. Why are you in trucking? What is it you want to gain? If all you're looking for is freedom, lease purchase is not the way to do it. If what you're looking for is a secure investment in a business that will pay dividends far beyond the truck you're driving, then finance it. Get away from lease purchase. Be it
Well,
that
that's
it was
part of
your
the problem too.
well,
That's
hold
part of the
on.
problem. A lot of financial institutions are not going to finance you a brand new vehicle fresh out of driving school.
Right.
These financial institutes, listen, like financing commercial equipment is
Yeah.
a very big risk, not only for the person that wants to purchase it, but for the banks as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not going to finance somebody with no experience in the industry for what's a brand new truck these days? Like $200,000? Like,
Yeah, I was going to say 150 and over.
okay.
I mean, Tom, it was your point that brought it up. I mean, what have you got to add to this? I mean, lease
I-
purchase for those that don't
I
really.
did 2 leases against my
Yeah.
wife told me not to, but I did 2 leases. My first one, and I have to say she was right. I did
Yeah.
the first one was with Arter Express. I was there for 9 weeks. It was a walkaway lease. Made good money, but I was never going to own the truck. It was simply you're renting a truck. I mean, you're getting it from Penske. But I
Right.
found the culture and the equipment were lacking. So I
Right.
left there and I went to Christensen. Best equipment in the business. There was nothing like the feeling of peeling that plastic off of that 579 Ultra Loft with all the bells and whistles, TV included, everything. I mean, it had a microwave TV, all of it was there. You felt great peeling all that plastic off. However, they would give me loads, pick up on a Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., but it doesn't deliver until 9 p.m. on Wednesday. And it's only 400 or 500 miles.
Right.
I wasn't making good money, so it didn't meet my culture, home time, equipment, compensation, knowledge. Check.
Yeah.
If it doesn't check out, you got to move on. And I've looked at lease programs and asked 10 lease drivers what their fuel per mile is.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they can't tell you, especially prime drivers, because they don't know.
Yeah. That's 90% of the problem. I mean, everybody dumping in, whether you're leasing or whether you're buying a truck. One of the first questions I was asked when I was looking into a purchase program with Lone Mountain, one of the first questions I was asked was, do you know what your cents per mile is net? Difficult question. Most people don't know. They can tell you what your gross is because you can see it on the load board every time you get a load. But do you know what your net is going to be at the end of the day? And out of what you make in a week, what is your cents per mile towards maintenance? Those 2 questions, believe you me, I was well prepared for back in 2017. And the people actually setting up the finance package were shocked that I even knew what that was. People today don't. They have no clue what those 2 frameworks are. And to your point, Tom, to know where to set your money and prepare for that rainy day and what happens if you have that unexpected repair is something people are just misguided with. And leasing programs are replete with all these promises and all these things that go on that, just basically steer everybody wrong. Now, I don't know if anybody else has got something to add. I mean, you yourself, Frank, you've said you've only been in basically 24 years. You've done a couple of different options. Have you ever run into people asking you questions like that? Or, I mean, what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of people ask me what I thought about lease purchase, and
Yeah.
I've explained to them basically how I said a while ago. Unless you're willing to live in that thing and never go home, don't
Yeah.
do it. Because
No.
honestly, it's like brings out a point. You're depending on where you're leasing from,
Yeah.
you may be just purchasing, or you're not really purchasing. You're just basically making that truck payment for them, which
Yeah.
makes them happy because that's one less thing they worry about. And
Right.
you know, you're barely scraping by while they're making the bukus, you know. And it's not right. It really isn't. It seems like a good plan, but the problem with it is you're not going to come out in the long haul on that one.
Yeah, you're kind of breaking up there, Frank. Sorry about that. Your signal's crappy.
Sorry,
But I mean,
it's a bad part
yeah,
about
I mean,
here in Houston.
yeah. It comes and goes, but you know, when it comes to lease purchase programs, I mean, some are actually getting a bad rap, and I blame Newsom, I blame AB5. But honestly, if you're looking into a lease purchase program with any seriousness and actually thinking anything through about trying to get in the hard way, because like for example, your FICO's under 600, you know, like me right now, if I wanted to finance, I'd have a rough time because I have a FICO that's less than 600. I won't be ashamed to admit it. I've had a rough lot in life, but you know, not everybody has a FICO high enough to go to contemporary. And today, not to mention, interest rates are so damn high. Who would want to
No.
finance through a regular bank?
I'll add this to this now. This has probably changed since, you know, everything is going cuckoo crazy ever since the wonderful pandemic happened. But I know some years back that the options with a lot of places, of course, you had to have some experience. You couldn't just jump right into it and expect to do it. You had to have some experience already to drive a truck and prove that you had the experience. But there were banks out there that were willing to, you know, loan you the money to get a truck as long as you found a good company that was reputable that would let you lease under them and join on and make the money so that they know you're going to make the payment every month to them. But now things have changed, so you know it's possibly that may be a thing of the past. Am I not right there, Fate?
So you were kind of breaking up. I heard a little bit of that, I guess. And I think what I'm about to say is once again gonna like upset people. And I don't mean to like be a Debbie Downer, but like if you have a FICO score under 600, like now don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying your credit score is everything, but a credit score represents something. It usually will represent somebody that's disciplined. You understand what I'm saying? Like the reason my FICO score is what it is I'm a disciplined human being. I pay my bills. I'm good with money. Like if you're not any of those things, why would you go and get into something that the minute you're in, you're usually backwards on it. You know what I mean? Like you're usually backwards on it. And that's a tough hole to like dig yourself out of, especially if you aren't a disciplined human being. You know, 90% of my success is because I'm disciplined. 100. I don't doubt that for a minute. You know what I mean?
Don't you want to pick your own loads? Don't you want to go home when you want to? Don't you want to be your own boss?
I do.
I know you are. I know you are. But I'm saying you could have 3 months in the industry and be releasing a truck.
I don't agree with that. I think that's foolishness.
Discipline is different for everybody, Scott, and I agree with what you're saying, by the way. But discipline is different for everybody. My below 600
not when it comes to business. Not when it comes to business.
Let me finish my statement. Discipline is different for everybody, and let me tell you, my below 600 FICO score currently is because of 2 months. 2 months worth of time. Prior to this 2 months of time, I had a stellar over 700 score. But in 2 months, I had a bad situation occur, and my score dropped below 600. Now I was able to get back up over 600. It took me a little time, but everybody has a different lot in life. Sometimes things happen, It doesn't
Okay.
mean you're undisciplined. It doesn't mean you're in trouble, but that's part of business. You sometimes can't make the money because of tragic circumstances. So what do you do then?
If you
You know?
go into a lease program and you have to use the company card, the company gas card, no matter how bad it is, like Super Ego or even Order Express, if you have to use the company's gas card that's only getting you 6 or 7 cents off pump price,
Mhm.
and because you don't have credit, you don't have cards, you don't have money, that's a
Mhm.
problem because you
Right.
don't know what your price, how much you're paying for fuel. And
Right.
when I'm a company driver, and I know it's 43 cents is what a mile is what I'm paying for fuel, or what the
Right.
company's paying for fuel. I know that
Right.
because I calculate it every time I get fuel. I know what my MPG is. Most of these
Mhm.
drivers don't. They don't have any money banked. They're not ready. They're living paycheck to paycheck. The first time they don't get a paycheck because they had to take a week off because something happened, they had a blowout,
Right.
truck broke down, wife went into labor. They're screwed.
Right.
They spend
Yeah.
the next 3 weeks trying to get out of debt.
Right. To Faith's point earlier, I had everything figured out and everything, my ducks in a row. And within like 2 weeks, I had exhausted over $6,000 in savings. And I had exhausted my entire escrow set with the company I was working for. And I was suddenly faced with 2 weeks worth of no revenue. So in the following 2 weeks, I made a decision to get out from under the truck I was in. And it was a truck I owned, but I was like, you know what? I made a decision at that point in time. In that whole month it took for me to get through that experience of going through my savings, going through my escrow, and deciding what to do next. My FICO score went from 725 to nearly 585, and it took that long. It was that fast. It was not like I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to pay a bill. No, it was just that fast. Things happened. I paid what I could. I got back on my feet, but it's always harder to bring it back up than it is for it to fall back. So I appreciate your point, Fate, but to some of us, it's not a matter of
2
discipline.
months.
It's a matter of struggle. It's a matter of struggle.
2 months ain't gonna affect your credit score that dramatically, man. I'm being honest, dude. I do this this is what I do kind of secondly on the side. You know what I'm good with. Like I said, I'm good with, but you kind of hit the nail on the head. You talked about $6,000. I will share that. Let's see. So we got done with 2023. So 2022, I spent $50,000 in repairs. I had been an owner operator for, what would that have been? Maybe a year and a half. So we're talking about substantial amount of money. I would argue that if you want to own your own truck, you should have an excess of like $25,000-$30,000 set aside, or at least be able to obtain it.
Scott, I won't dispute with you. I had an inadequate amount of money because, at the time I had just completed repairs. That year, that frankly is the year we're talking about, 22. I was knee deep in having just finished the year with over $30,000 worth of annual repairs. My tax form, my 1099, my Schedule E, 30,000 better at least. I don't remember exactly, but I didn't over repair or over maintenance the truck, but I was up there. It costs a lot to run a truck, but I was just caught with my pants down.
That's where companies like Prime, Swift, Werner, that's where they're a lease with training wheels, because when the driver, the company owner, business owner, driver has a breakdown, they front them the money to fix it. It's kind of like having a line of credit, like having that American Express you can pull out. So it's a good thing on that end, but you pay for it. You pay for it because you're overpaying for the truck. You're overpaying for the insurance. You're getting hit with all the costs, but it does have its advantages. When I did the leases my leases were cents per mile leases. So if I didn't drive the truck that week or that month, I had a very low amount that I did still have a small amount that I would owe, but that was for an insurance of some sort. But the rest of it, like my payments for my lease and everything, were based on the miles. So I
Right.
knew there was no possibility I was going to get buried in debt in it. But I
Yeah.
also decided after 24 weeks, and my wife helped with this decision. Trust me, she's watching right now, and I guarantee
Women will
she's
do that.
going, I
Women will
told
do
you,
that.
I told you.
Yep.
And she was right.
Yep.
I
My
definitely
wife was instrumental.
shouldn't have went
My
into
wife-
leasing.
My wife was instrumental in telling me what she thought was best. And when it comes to repairs, we'll finance today, but you'll pay.
Tomorrow, and more, and more, and more.
It's never ending, man. They hit you left, they hit you right, and the interest rates are what kill you. And my wife told me, dude, you got to get out of it. You got to get out of it. So that's why I decided, and that was me just financing. Imagine if I was in a lease like what we're talking about tonight. There would have been no way to get out of it. That point.
But
Tom
in
brought
some
up earlier,
ways,
the walkaway lease,
in some ways, the
sometimes
way you and
that's
fate
where
did
you
it,
gotta go.
some ways the way you and fate did it is a disadvantage. Like Fate said, he had $50,000 in expenses. He had to cough that money up. You had repairs. You had to cough that money up. If you were on with Swift or Prime or Christensen, well, they would have paid for it and you would have done it. Now, Christensen's a different animal because the leases covers maintenance. But, and I'm not saying they're good leases and I'm not saying they're good for the driver. I'm just saying they cover, you won't, if you have a $50,000 repair, well, you're going to be making payments on that $50,000.
Can I ask a
It's
question?
at least with training wheels.
Go ahead,
Can I
Tom.
ask? And I like how you just phrased that, training wheels, lease with training wheels. If I have to call my company for $50,000 in repairs, who's really the boss of my company?
You got it.
Yeah,
You said it.
You know what I mean? Like,
But you're a business owner. You're the boss. You get to make the decisions.
Yeah. Jerome.
I'm also the one that can open up my wallet and take care of my business expenses and not have to be controlled by a company that just forked out $50,000 for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't view that as you being a business. I'm sorry. Like I understand people are going to get.
I agree with you.
You are so true on that.
You're
Jerome,
not self-sufficient. That's not a
Jerome,
business.
Yeah, Jerome.
Let me.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jerome says, luckily I had someone go over the numbers with me because I was about to do an SFI lease and it was not going to work out. You, my friend, probably made a sound decision based on everything we're talking about here tonight.
Jerome Jones, like I know Jerome Jones, boss man.
Yeah.
That guy is an owner operator. That guy has his authority. That guy has been through ups and downs in this industry, and you know what? He's still here. Like he listens to people. He takes in advice. He asks questions. That's what you should. I had over 20 years of experience before I became an owner operator, and there's times I still feel naive. I got friends that I call about the stupidest questions,
Right?
Because I want to know more. Or I want to learn something that I might not understand. And I got over 25 years of experience, like.
I'll be perfectly frank with you and everybody on this panel. Okay. I don't know crap. Okay. I'm just a broadcaster. I'm a truck driver too. So I'll get the benefit of both, but I don't know it all. I don't know everything I need to know about whether or not lease purchase is the way to go or financing a truck or whatever. I'm always open to suggestions, which is why I opened the show the way I did. So I love the fact that you guys are on this show giving me the opinions you're giving me. And I love the fact that even more of you are in the comments giving me your side. And if Jerome or if Midlife or if you Fate love the idea of giving advice, charge me. I don't care. But I love the idea of learning, which is what this channel is all about. I was going to go another route with the ending of this, but I like the direction we're talking right now. And that's, you know what? I don't know it all. And everybody on this panel probably has something to learn. But at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I firmly believe that if you put together as a company a lease purchase program that does not do everything that we're talking about, then we have a possibility of being able to save trucking. Because right
Oh.
now, every lease purchase program out there is getting a bad rap. It's like it shouldn't exist. And there are people in the government that are tearing it apart. What have you got to add, Frank? You sounded like you wanted to add something to that.
Well, done lease purchase thing, but I
Breaking
wished
up.
I would have followed and done what I'm what?
You're breaking up.
Yeah, try again.
Can you
'cause
hear
now
me?
You're coming through a lot clearer.
Now you are.
Now we can. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, let's try this again. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to bring up the factor of it is that, even though it's a truck and stuff like that. All right. Here now, I actually rent truckers, and this gentleman actually.
Frank, we're gonna have to try this again
But-
later. Your signal is too bad. I can't make anything you're saying out. I'm sorry, but I just
So-
I can't do that.
Can I comment
Go
on
ahead.
one thing here real quick?
Go ahead,
And it's
Scott. Go ahead.
it's Poet. And I don't
Yeah.
know Poet, and I don't know your guys' situation. I'm just looking at the comment. It says, Scott, up here, I lost 165 points on my score in 1.5 months. So what I would say to that is you obviously had bills that you could not pay, and you decided not to call the creditors or the people you owed the money to, because you can reach out to those people and they will not ding your credit. You can tell them, hey, I can only afford an interest payment this month. Or, you know what? I fell on hard times. They will give you extended amount of time as long as you call them and set something up with them. If you ignore them and ignore their phone calls and ignore all the bills that they're sending you, because the thing is, it takes about 60 to 90 days for them to even consider sending it to a collection agency or dinging your credit. So
My dip
we all-
credit occurred back in 22, and it took me all the way through this year to actually get restored back to near 600 or 700. I'm near 700 now, but it took me almost
but-
the entire year.
when that happened, when you went through your period of struggle, did you reach out to the people?
Some of them, not all of them.
Okay.
Some of them were not the most practical people. So
Part of because trust me, I've been bankrupt. I've shared that on my channel. I went bankrupt back in 2008. I lost everything, guys. Everything.
Yeah.
I lost my house, my cars. I lost it all.
yeah.
And what I learned in that process was I felt buried and I felt overwhelmed by the mounting debt that I could not afford to pay. I didn't do anything. I didn't call anybody. The only phone call I made was to a bankruptcy attorney, like after 1.5 years of not contacting anybody. By that time, it's too late. But if you call them the minute you know that you can't afford your credit card bill, they're going to work with you. Believe it or not, they want to work with you because they want you to keep using their card because that's how they make money.
He followed up with saying no collection agency was involved. 7C's in the house asking what we're getting to. That's what happens when you show up late, dude. No, I'm kidding. 7C's, Kevin, kidding. We're talking about lease programs, the good and the bad, the ugly about it. But welcome to it. I invite you to watch on the replay. My credit score was not really, to me, I didn't think it was a bad thing. I mean, I went through a bad spot. There were some people I called, and there were those I paid attention to because they were important people I deal with on an everyday basis. But I don't think people pay attention to those that are older and about to fall off. Those kind of things. Most people don't care about those. Doesn't really matter how much it is. But if it's almost that 7-year mark, what are you going to do? You're going to call them and say, "Oh yeah, I want to pay you." Give me a break, So that sometimes you got to make those decisions, and I think that's what I was fighting with at the time.
Can I say something
Because
real
in
quick?
22 I wasn't perfect, but I certainly had a number of issues come up that I didn't want to exactly open up my entire credit history to somebody and say, "Hey, stick me bad." Sounds like Driving with John is back with us. Did you want to add something to this guy?
Yeah, just real quick. I'm sorry. I'm trying to work at the same time.
No,
YouTube's fun,
by
but
all
I
means.
can't always do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to say, not along the same conversation, but real quick, if there's a YouTube channel, trucker that does a YouTube channel out there that actually gives two craps about our industry and would like to talk to me, email me at drivingwithjohntoday@gmail.com. I'm working on something that you may be interested. If you want drama and crap and all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with trucking, don't bother emailing me because I'm not interested. So I hate to be so gruff about it, but you guys know how it is. As for leasing and stuff, I do want to say that I think Jerome Jones earlier said something about truck payments being $1,200 a week. Here's the difference
He said
between a
1,500.
lease program, yeah, whatever it was, a lease program and actually buying a truck, leasing a truck but buying it through an actual third party. Um, and I'm going to share a little bit, but not too much. But my payment was $1,000 a month compared to
Mhm.
$1,200 a week, and that is the difference
Right.
between a lease program and actually buying your own truck.
Thank you. I
Financially,
was
if you're
going to bring
running
that
a
up
bit,
earlier. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
financially, if you're gonna run a business, it's better to have lower overhead, and the overhead would be a truck payment. I mean, it's just common sense, folks. It's really just
Actually,
common sense.
it's a good segue to what I think is an important point. Lease programs typically are set up as a means to bridge the gap between affordability and inaffordability. And there's been a number of them shown me recently. I've not engaged in them, nor have I entertained them, but I've actually learned enough about them to know kind of what I'm talking about. The difference between financing a truck and leasing one is they'll spread out leasing. In leasing, they'll spread out the truck payments over each week, and they'll spread it over the month so you don't fail. And it's good because you can actually continue making money and you can actually have a leg to stand on. But the problem is they don't do that with financing. They do it typically at the end of each month. Mine was 1350. Jerome said his was 15. You said yours was 1,000. So I mean, they're all over the map depending on the value of the truck. But the problem is, if you find one week that you're down, and these leasing programs do a week by week, you're screwed. You have no fallback, and that's the beginning of the end, my friend. Some of these lease programs, I think, need to be reworked and they need to be redone in a way that favors a similar take to that of a typical finance package. And I think if that's done, this whole industry will stand a far better chance of people succeeding. Last chance on the panel, you guys. What are your thoughts? Let's go with you, Fate. What do you think? Do you think I have something? Do you think there's possibilities? What say you, my friend?
Can you come back to me?
I actually made you think. That's a first. What about you, midlife? What do you think?
I don't think trucking is in bad condition. I know you keep saying we got to make trucking great again. I don't think it isn't great. I think there's a lot of people who have unreasonable expectations and they didn't know what they were getting into, all because they feel that they have to be above that step up company driver and they're not ready to be business owners.
Do you think that's what I'm saying? Donald Trump wasn't saying America needed help. He said, let's make America great again. He wasn't saying we were in the pits. He just said, let's make America great again. I'm saying the same thing about trucking. I'm not saying it sucks. Otherwise, I wouldn't be driving. Shame on you, my friend.
I love what we do.
I do too. I do too. But like every profession, I think there are always room for improvements. Frank, do you have an internet connection that allows you to add in onto this?
I don't know. Can you hear me okay?
I can do. I
Can
can
you
do
hear
it
me
fine.
okay?
Say what you want. Say what you want.
I think I fixed something. Okay. All right. What I'm just trying to say earlier was the fact that just like this gentleman that I actually shared one of his videos to my channel, or not my channel, but my group. The gentleman went out because he wanted to be an owner operator. He took his hard earned money that he saved up and as a company driver and stuff, and he bought a truck, a decent truck. It wasn't perfect, wasn't beautiful, had a lot of rust spots and all that, but it was still legal to run on the road. He purchased that truck. I think he said $25,000 or $30,000, and he's still running that truck. So I look at it as, instead of doing a lease purchase, do something similar to that, gentlemen. Find you a decent truck, buy that sucker, save up if you have to, or if you can find someone to help you get a small loan to purchase it, great. You know, because I mean, $25,000-$30,000. Surely you can get some help, some financially from a bank if you need to, and then once you get that paid off, it's yours 100%, and it won't take you as long, and you ain't got to worry about a balloon payment and all that.
Yep. Totally agree. Fate, you're on the hot seat, my friend. What do you say? Come on. End the show with a bang, my friend. End it with a bang. Come on now.
Wait, it's still my turn. He's not ending it.
I ain't
Mhm.
putting you at pasture, John. Don't get your panties in a wad.
I'll say this. Do what you want to do, and don't effing cry about it. Do what you want to do. You're a grown man or woman. If you made a bad decision, you made a bad decision. Don't whine and cry about it. I don't want to hear it, because there's people out there telling you there's a different way of doing it, and you choose not to listen. The blame is on you. Take a look in the mirror, pull up your big boy pants or your big girl pants, and move on.
That's right. Totally
You
agree.
got midlife giving you a thumbs up on that one. I like that. I like the advice, Scott. I mean, it does make a lot of sense. It sound logical advice when it comes to leasing, when it comes to buying, when it comes to even the decision about, well, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I purchase? Do I lease? What do I do? I think the best thing you can do as an individual working in this day and age in trucking is make a decision that's sound for you. You do what's right for you. Because at the end of the day, the only